Welcome to RadioTrivia.com, the fastest hour in radio, bringing you back to yesterday by making radio fun again. And now, here are your hosts, Mark Bornstein and Bruce Caplan.
Well, good morning, Puget Sound, and welcome to another edition of RadioTrivia.com. My name is Mark Bornstein, along with my co-host Bruce Caplan, and we're glad to be with you this morning. We're sponsored by the good folks at U-Park Parking Lots, where the customer is always number one, and they have locations throughout the greater Puget Sound area. And we're also sponsored by The Force Realty. Let The Force sell your home or help you buy a new home. They utilize the latest in internet technology to provide you with buyers from all over the world. Call The Force today at 425-444-2084.
This is Bruce Caplan, welcoming you back to another episode of Radio Trivia. I hope your new year is really going splendid. Tonight, we begin our show with a wonderful episode of Our Miss Brooks. It was first broadcast around this time of year in January 1949, almost 7 decades ago. For our second program, we're going to play a classic episode of Ozzie and Harriet. We've done it before, but how often do you get to hear Ozzie Nelson and Bing Crosby together? In reality, they were both singers, but Bing's singing career was a little more successful than Ozzie's. Please write to me at bruce@radiotrivia.com and tell me the comedy of yesterday that you'd like to listen to. I promise I'll do all in my power to get you the best of classic radio comedy. Thank you for listening, and now let's enjoy our 2 great comedy shows.
Our Miss Brooks, who teaches English at Madison High School, enjoyed her vacation during the holidays just as much as any other teacher. But as it drew to a close, she had a peculiar reaction.
Although I felt that my vacation had done me a lot of good, now that it was over, I was keyed up and enthusiastic, simply raring to go. Raring to go on another 2 weeks vacation. Meanwhile, I went about the business of getting used to working again and spent the past week noticing conditions which hadn't seemed so deplorable during the hustle and bustle of holiday time at the school. I was telling my landlady, Mrs. Davis, about them while we were having breakfast Friday morning.
Let me pour you a cup of this coffee, Connie. It's Rio de Janeiro style. I just got the recipe.
Rio de Janeiro style?
Yes. I mashed up a few Brazil nuts and mixed them with the coffee ground. That's one reason why the blonde hair of a Brazilian is so outstanding.
But, Mrs. Davis, very few Brazilians have blonde hair.
That's another reason it's so outstanding. But I'm afraid I've interrupted something you started to say to me, Connie.
Oh, it wasn't very important. I had just said that
I really shouldn't do that. It's a habit I picked up from my brother Victor. He's terribly absent-minded.
I thought your sister Angela was the absent-minded one in the family.
Angela?
Yes, that's what you told me.
What did I tell you?
That she was very absent-minded.
Who?
Your brother Victor.
Now, how did you know that? You've never even met Victor. But he is confused sometimes, poor dear. Why, you could be talking about something to Victor and he'd seem as interested as could be in the conversation. But then if you just looked away for a moment, it would be right in the middle of a sentence that...
Yes, Mrs. Davis? Mrs. Davis? Yoo-hoo, Mrs. Davis!
Oh, good morning, Connie. I was just looking for the cat out in the kitchen. She hasn't touched her milk.
What do you hear from Victor?
Victor? Oh, my brother. Oh, he's fine, thank you, dear. He calls me quite regularly. My sister Angela's the one that worries me. She's the absent-minded member of the family. But I keep feeling that I disrupted your train of thought. Did I, Connie?
There's not a car left on the tracks but the caboose. I was merely telling you, Mrs. Davis, that I never realized how bad conditions were at school until this cold spell set in. Why, my classroom is so drafty that half my pupils can't answer questions because their teeth are chattering.
That must be awful. Young people have such loud teeth.
Yes, sometimes my room sounds like a dice game on a tin roof.
Have you talked to the principal about it?
Not yet, but I'm going to today. He's just got to get the Board of Education to allot us a bigger budget for coal.
Well, I wish you luck, dear. Is, Walter Denton picking you up this morning?
Yes, Mrs. Davis.
Oh, good. Connie, I'd like to apologize again for interrupting you before. As I say, I've been a little worried about my eccentric brother, Victor. Before you go, though...
Yes?
Goodbye, Connie.
Goodbye, Mrs. Davis. And by the way, Mrs. Davis...
Yes, Connie. Yes, Connie, Why, she's gone. Poor thing. She's been under a terrible strain lately.
I'm glad you picked me up early, Walter. I've got to stop in and see Mr. Conklin before my first class.
Oh, golly, Miss Brooks, there must be some pleasanter way to start off a Friday morning for a perfectly nice English teacher.
Yes, there must be.
Oh, it isn't that I don't respect Mr. Conklin. It's just that, there's something about you, Miss Brooks, that, before the hallowed walls of our beloved Madison High heaves into view, I want you to know that...
Just a minute, Walter. Would you mind taking that sentence again a little slower?
I merely exclaimed, before the hallowed walls of our beloved Madison High heaves into view.
That's what I thought you exclaimed.
Anything wrong, Miss Brooks?
Well, frankly, Walter, I'd hesitate to correct that sentence without stopping at Teachers College for a refresher course. But what do you mean by heaves into view?
Well, every so often you read about a ship that hove into view, don't you?
Yes.
Well, hove must be the past tense, mustn't it? Heave, haved, hove, isn't it?
Oh, of course not, Walter. Heave, heaved, haved, heave, haved. What do you want me to know before Madison High heaves into view?
That you command as much respect as Mr. Conklin, plus the admiration of the entire student body, and that your personal warmth and charm is only exceeded by your excellence in your chosen field of instruction.
Ain't it the truth? I don't want to seem unduly inquisitive, Walter, but to what do I owe this verbal plaque?
Nothing. It's just a natural reaction. Completely spontaneous and unrehearsed.
And what did you get from our sponsor when you were selected as a contestant?
A pen and pencil set that's guaranteed... Oh, no, that's not fair. No, I'm being completely sincere and have no ulterior motive whatsoever.
Then thank you, Walter.
No, that's okay. Miss Brooks.
Yes?
Would you do me a favor?
If I say no, you'll take back the plaque. Well, what is it?
Well, it's the basketball team. As you know, I'm the new manager, so it's up to me to see Mr. Conklin about getting some things that we need immediately.
And?
And it's up to you to see Mr. Conklin for me because I'm rarely up to seeing Mr. Conklin. What I mean is that we've just got to get some more trunks.
Where are you going?
Oh, we're not going anywhere. No, we need stuff for the guys to put on while they're playing. You see, right now, every time we send in a substitute, he has to take a blanket along with him and change trunks with the fella he's replacing. About 10 pairs should do fine.
10 pairs? Why don't you just get a larger blanket?
Oh, no, this is serious, Miss Brooks. Oh, another thing you've got to talk to Mr. Conklin about for me is the temperature in the gym. It's so cold in there, a good humor man has to referee the game. Of course, I'm exaggerating, Miss Brooks.
I know, Walter, but, A, just what do you want me to ask, Mr. Conklin? And B, why should it be me instead of you?
Well, A, to requisition $100 worth of equipment for the basketball team from the school board, and B, because you're older and carry more weight.
And C, if we were driving in my car, you'd be walking by now.
Well, you don't understand, Miss Brooks. I'm not trying to shirk my duties, but, this is a legitimate beef. Let me put it this way. In the stockyards, when they want the sheep to run a certain way, they don't send a little lamb out to guide them. They send an old goat. You've seen it in the newsreels, I'm sure, where the goat and the... Gosh, I hope you're not mad, Miss Brooks.
Oh, forget it, Walter. Why should I be mad?
Then you'll do it? You'll ask Mr. Conklin for me?
I'll do my best. Now, you'd better start putting on your brakes.
My brakes?
Yes, the hallowed walls are hiving into view.
Well, here we are at school, Miss Brooks. If you will kindly disembark, I'll find a place to park and then return for a joust with the forces of education.
If I was a gambler, Walter, I'd bet on you to place. Oh, there's Harriet Conklin. I think I'll ask her what kind of a mood her father's in.
Okay, Miss Brooks. I'll see you later.
Just a minute, Harriet. I'd like to talk to you.
Oh, hello, Miss Brooks. I'm glad we ran into each other.
Same here. Harriet, did you have breakfast with your father this morning?
Well, yes, I did.
How was he? His temper, I mean.
Pretty good, Miss Brooks. Until Mother showed him some of the bills that had come in.
Then what did he do?
Nothing unusual. He just slammed down his paper, bit through his coffee cup, and left. Could have been worse.
Sure, he could have bitten your mother.
That's one of the reasons I'm glad we ran into each other. Miss Brooks, did I ever tell you what an unending source of inspiration you are?
Oh, I must end somewhere.
I mean it, Miss Brooks. You're more than just an excellent instructor of English. You're...
I'm the patsy who's going to face your father with one of your problems.
All this and psychic, too. How did you know I wanted you to talk to Daddy for me, Miss Brooks?
Well, why should you be an exception, Harriet? What's your beef? Complaint?
The domestic science room. It's like a deep freeze.
That room, too?
It's so cold that most of us wear gloves all during the class. Makes it very awkward, Miss Brooks. Especially when we're trying to use the sewing machine.
Sounds pretty bad.
Bad? It's terrible. Yesterday, Bessie Snyder sewed 5 of her fingers together.
Well, what's so terrible about that? Gives you an extra ladle for the cooking class.
It broke the sewing machine, and we need $200 for a new one.
Oh, but Harriet...
Miss Brooks, it's up to you to make conditions in this school livable.
For you mean? I'd better be armed with plenty of facts before I face your father, though. I think I'll make a survey of the rest of the rooms.
Starting with Mr. Boynton's biology laboratory?
Now who's psychic? Yes, Harriet, I think I'll interview the shy master of the microbes.
I've been in there, Miss Brooks. It's even colder than the other rooms. I hope you can do something about it.
I should be able to, with the experience I've had.
Well, what do you mean, Miss Brooks?
I've been trying to thaw Mr. Boynton out for years.
Come in.
Hello, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, it's you, Miss Brooks. How do you feel this morning?
Cold, thanks, especially in here. Where do you hang your sides of beef, Mr. Boynton?
Oh, this time you really at that. I was going to ask Mr. Conklin about the heating situation, but now that you're here, I wonder if you would,
Naturally.
You better slip this coat on. Even your voice is shivery.
No, this outfit I'm wearing is fairly warm. I've got 4 sweaters on, you know.
Really? Where?
Let's not get racy, Mr. Boynton.
Sorry, Miss Brooks. I didn't mean anything personal.
You never do.
The situation is pretty bad. Now, take my prize frog, McDougal, for instance. He's had a sore throat for weeks. And now, with this cold spell, I'm afraid he's developing sinus trouble. Oh, here's his cage right here.
Hello, Mac. How do you feel? Gesundheit. Have a Kleenex, Mac. You're welcome.
It's no wonder he's sick. Look at the tank he's in. No provisions for heating or water at all. Or this morning, his breakfast was frozen 2 inches from his nose. By the time he did eat, he had indigestion.
That's really awful, Mr. Boynton. This equipment is pretty obsolete. What's this bowl here? Oh, these must be some new fish. What's the name of these pretty blue ones, Mr. Boynton?
Goldfish. They're just cold.
Well, they could slap their fins together. Oh, look at these cute little guinea pigs. Now, they're what I call sensible animals. Look how they huddle together for warmth in their cage. You know, Mr. Boynton, you and I could keep kind of warm that way, too.
Oh, no, we couldn't, Miss Brooks. We could never fit into a cage that size.
Well, no, but it would be fun trying to. Look, Mr. Boynton, about what do you estimate it would cost for new equipment for this lab?
Oh, a couple of $100, roughly. $150 if you smooth it out. That's a sort of a joke, Miss Brooks. First I said roughly, and then $150 if you smooth it out.
Oh. That's a Lulu.
I know another one, but I wish you'd stop me if you've heard it. It's about this group of people.
I've heard it.
Have? The one about the group of people who are all discussing something in a very animated manner, and suddenly they stop, and this one fellow says, is anybody eating a lifesaver? And somebody else says, why? And the first chap says, because there's a hole in the conversation? Is that the one you've heard?
No, I heard a different one. Tell yours.
Well, it's about... I just did tell it, Miss Brooks.
Oh, so you did, Mr. Boynton, and a little beauty it was, too. But I better get ready for my first class now. I'll see Mr. Conklin at the beginning of lunch period.
Well, it's awfully nice of you to do this, Miss Brooks. Will you have lunch with me afterwards?
Oh, I'd love to, Mr. Boynton.
And, Miss Brooks, please don't even bring your purse with you. It only embarrasses me when you try to pay your own check in the cafeteria.
All right, Mr. Boynton. I'll leave my bag in my desk.
Fine. When I see you to your room, I can pick up what you owe me.
That's a good one, too. What am I laughing at? He's not kidding. Let's see this list now. Weather stripping for my room, $50. Basketball team equipment, $100. New sewing machine, about $200. And biology lab equipment, $150. Total, $500. Of course, that's without the additional coal we'll have to get. Well, here goes.
Come in.
Hello, Mr. Conklin. I just wanted to...
Sit down a moment, Miss Brooks. I'm speaking on the phone.
Yes, sir.
So you see, Miss Stanhope, this senseless extravagance has got to stop. Why, do you realize that your art class used up 3 more drawing pencils this month than last? What do you think the school board is made of? Money? What? How can you cut down? Tell the students not to sharpen them so often. And remember, Miss Stanhope, it isn't the 50 cents involved that's important. It's the money. Get on the ball and let's start cutting down expenses around here. Good day. Now, what do you want?
Happy New Year, Mr. Conklin. I just happened to be passing your office, and I thought I'd stop in and say hello.
Hello. Now, if you'll excuse me, I was just going to lunch.
But, Mr. Conklin, you don't want to go up to that drafty cafeteria.
What do you mean, drafty?
Oh, it is. It's almost as bad as the schoolrooms.
What?
And the gym and the biology laboratory and the domestic science room, in which your own daughter Harriet is at this very moment shivering and shaking while she sews her gloved fingers together on the sewing machine which Bessie Snyder broke. There, I said it, and I'm glad.
If you're angling for another vacation, Miss Brooks, the answer is no. Now compose yourself and talk like a rational human being.
Well, it's like this, Mr. Conklin. If we could get a larger appropriation from the school...
A larger appropriation? Miss Brooks, let me tell you what I was planning when you so fortuitously entered my office. I was planning on a general revision of expenses, an economy wave the likes of which this school has never seen. For example, you will in the future direct your pupils to use half as much chalk.
You mean no more capital letters?
Exactly. And this building, it's kept like a hothouse. I intend to cut way down on the supply of coal we're wasting.
Wasting? But...
Don't butt me, young woman.
Oh, I can't help it. I'm the goat that was picked for the job. That is, it's not a question of a lot of money, Mr. Conklin. And the temperature of the school is very important.
It certainly is. And I find it extremely comfortable for the most part. But why are you wearing your overcoat?
It's just a silly quirk of mine, Mr. Conklin. I'm trying to break up an ice jam in my arteries.
Oh, nonsense. And take off those gloves. And I wish you'd stop smoking while you're talking to me.
I'm not smoking. I'm just breathing.
Well, cut it out. That's the trouble with people nowadays. They're all mollycoddles, softies. Why, when I think of our forefathers at Valley Forge, dragging cannons through the snow with their feet wrapped in rags, it's enough to make my blood boil.
Well, it wouldn't boil in my room. Look, Mr. Conklin, if you don't care about people, think of the poor little animals in Mr. Boynton's laboratory.
What's wrong with them?
The white mice can't run around on the treadmill without snowshoes. McDougal doesn't know whether to croak, sneeze, or hiccup. So he does all 3, and it's pretty depressing.
Well, then don't listen to it.
And how about the basketball team? Walter Denton says that every time one of his substitutes goes into a game, he has to hide behind a trunk while they're changing blankets. And just think $100 would remedy the entire situation.
$100?
Plus $200 for a new sewing machine, $50 for weather stripping my room, and $150 for warmer tanks and better equipment in the biology lab. $500 is all you have to requisition from the board, plus some added money for coal. And if you'll sharpen the sword, I'll fall on it on my way out.
Miss Brooks, I'm going to try to control myself. I'm going to walk over to that window and look out of it. A moment later, I'm going to turn around, and you will have gone quietly out of the door. That's better. $500 indeed.
Plus coal.
Get out!
Well, here I am, Miss Brooks. The cafeteria was pretty crowded today. Young Denton here invited us to share his table.
Sure, sit down, Miss Brooks. Want me to get you a tray?
Thanks, Walter, but I haven't time to eat right now. I've just left Mr. Conklin's office, and he's flatly refused to requisition a penny from the school board.
But the temperature, my animals, McDougal's toes are frostbitten now.
And how about my basketball team? We got a very important home game on tomorrow night, and that gym is just icy. Oh, we gotta do something, Miss Brooks. We just gotta get some more coal into this building.
Well, maybe we could start an airlift. No, I guess not. Wait a minute. The only way to make Mr. Conklin see the necessity of improving the coal situation is to pretend we're all coming down with colds.
You mean go into his office sneezing and coughing and all?
Exactly. He won't dare face a school board investigation if he thinks an epidemic is starting. Besides, I happen to know he's quite a hypochondriac when it comes to contagious germs.
But if we really don't have colds, it'd be lying to say we have, wouldn't it?
It's a white lie for the common good, Mr. Boynton.
Oh, but you know what happens to me when I tell a falsehood. I have a psychosomatic symptom that causes me to hiccup.
Well, we'll have to take that chance. Think of McDougal, Mr. Boynton, and those blue goldfish swimming around depending on you to do something.
I'll do it, Miss Brooks. I'll be darned if I don't. Oh, I beg your pardon.
Oh, forget it, Mr. Boynton. In a crisis like this, even I resort to profanity. Oh, fudge.
Come in. Mr. Conklin, I got a bad cold. What? It's in my nose and head, mostly. Sure. Turn around, Boynton. Don't you know those germs travel? How long have you had this cold? Oh, for a long time. Achoo! You caught something from that wretched frog of yours. Now go take some aspirin, go home early, do something, but get out of this office at once.
But, Mr. Conklin, if my laboratory was a little bit warmer...
I'll talk to you after you've recovered, Boynton.
Fine, Mr. Conklin. Thank you, sir. Achoo!
Better open the window and clear the air in this room. That's better. Come in.
It's me, Mr. Conklin. Water deaded.
What do you want, Denton?
As manager of the basketball team, I'd like to request a warmer gym.
A what?
A warmer gym to play in. It's freezing in there. I got a cold.
You too? Well, cover your face when you sneeze.
We got a very important game to play tomorrow, and we need some heat badly.
Heat? Well, if you've got such a bad cold, Denton, you'd better not come round to the game tomorrow.
What?
I'll be there, and I'll appoint another manager.
But I'm not that sick, Mr. Conklin. Gosh, I feel great.
I think I know what you mean, Denton. This is all a scheme to get me to ask the board for more money. And I think I know who put you up to it, too.
She did not. Oh, that is...
Come in, Miss Brooks.
How did you know it was me, Mr. Conklin?
I heard you rehearsing your sneeze.
Gee, you look great, Miss Brooks. Never saw you looking better.
Thank you, Walter.
You couldn't possibly have a cold or anything the way you look. Know what I mean?
Keep talking, Denton. I don't mind.
Why, what's the matter with you, Walter? I've a terrible cold in my chest and my head. It's from my room, Mr. Conklin.
Mr. Conklin, if that is the scream, you sure do a funny imitation of a person with a cold, Miss Brooks.
What do you mean, imitation?
Sure. Everybody knows you're just fooling.
Among my own pupils. A stool pigeon.
I knew this was all a plot, Miss Brooks, and I'm ashamed of you. Why, just because there's a little fresh air circulating through the school. Good fresh air. You throw a fit. Our forefathers should see you now. Those men at Valley Forge dragging the cannon through the snow with rags tied around their feet. Why, when I think of those... Oh.
The door was open, so I just came on in, Daddy.
What is it, Harriet?
I talked to Mother on the phone a little while ago, and her back's bothering her a bit. She'd like the heating pad.
What heating pad?
The one you've got under the cushion you're sitting on. Here's the plug back here. Now, if you'll just get up a minute. There we are. I'll take it home to Mother right away.
Where in the world did that thing come from?
From Valley Forge, of course. The boys must have got some hot rags for their feet. Well, Mr. Conklin recommended the necessary expenditures to the school board and personally ordered some coal immediately. I thought it was a very sportsmanlike and unselfish gesture, and I started to tell him so when I met him in the hall. Mr. Conklin, I think it was very nice of you to tackle this problem so promptly.
Thanks, Miss Brooks. But I wasn't prompt enough. I'm getting pneumonia.
Oh, what's the difference, Mr. Conklin? As long as you've got your health.
Now we'll take a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll have a wonderful episode of Ozzie and Harriet. Now sit back and enjoy a wonderful episode of Ozzie and Harriet.
Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring America's favorite young couple, Ozzie Nelson and Harriet Hilliard. In this great nation of ours, from the rock-bound coast of Maine to the sunny shores of California, each man has a neighbor. Of course, you can have many neighbors, but there's always one who's your favorite. The neighbor you tell your troubles to, borrow the rake or lawnmower from, play golf or go fishing with. Such a neighbor is Mr. Thornberry, who lives next door to the Nelsons. That's Mr. Thornberry in the Nelson living room, the man sitting in Ozzie's favorite chair. Oh, Ozzie just walked into the room. Huh, looks like he's carrying a pot of coffee.
Here you are, Thorny. I've made another nice, fresh potful. Here, let me pour you some.
Just warm up the grounds in the bottom of my cup.
There you are. You want cream and sugar?
Yes, please, Oz. I'll have about 6 lumps and a half a cup of cream.
Thorny, you're going to kill the taste of the coffee.
It's the humane thing to do, Oz. I hate to say this, old man, but this coffee tastes like cough medicine.
Oh, Thorny, don't be so unpleasant. Let's enjoy ourselves. After all, we don't get rid of... as the wives don't go out very often. Let's have a nice, friendly evening.
Yeah, you're right, Oz. It is nice and comfortable here. That fire's so warm and friendly. Have you seen any good movies lately?
I saw Apartment for Peggy last week.
Oh? Did you like it?
Peggy was cute. I didn't think too much of the apartment, though.
I saw a great picture last night. Really exciting. It was called Man's Struggle for Survival.
Oh, a husband and wife picture?
No, it was about a French-Canadian woodsman, Pierre Baptiste. Guy didn't even know he was being photographed. Very exciting stuff. Shooting the rapids, big game hunting.
Oh, Thorny, cut it out. How could they photograph a guy doing that stuff without his knowing it?
Yeah. Well, they claimed it was authentic. But come to think of it, for a French-Canadian who had never left the woods, he certainly could tap dance awfully well.
I'm surprised you're being so gullible, Thorny. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
You're absolutely right, Oz. I'm embarrassed. I'm crushed. I'm humiliated. A discredit to the community. I wish I were dead. Give me another cup of your coffee.
I wouldn't take it that hard, old man. Sometimes the thin line between fact and fiction is pretty hard to distinguish.
Yeah, I think you've got something there, Oz.
Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, if you pick the right subject, practically anybody will get a little careless with the truth. Let me tell you a very interesting little story that happened right here in the living room.
Is this a true story, Oz, or one of your semi-documentaries?
Drop your feet up there, Thorny, and get yourself comfortable. It happened, I'd say it was about a couple of years ago. You know Charlie Miller down at the drugstore? Well, it seems I owed him a dime, and I went into the store to pay him back. Hello, Charlie.
Oh, hi, Mr. Nelson. Say, I'm glad you're here. You can help me with a very big financial problem.
I guess I'm just in time. Here's the dime I owe you.
Oh, no, it isn't that, Mr. Nelson. As a matter of fact, I'd completely forgotten about the dime. It concerns this... don't put it back in your pocket. I'll take it. It concerns this young man here, a stranger in town.
Oh, hello there.
Hello.
What do you do, Charlie? Buy a 5-cent Coke and read $10 worth of comic books?
Oh, much more serious. You see, he wants to buy this Junior Magic set. It costs 89 cents, but his entire capital at the moment consists of 80 cents. We have a deficit there of 9 cents.
That creates a bit of a problem, doesn't it?
I told him I'd pay it back.
Yeah, I know, but you realize 9 cents is a lot of money. And for 9 cents, you can...
You can weigh yourself 9 times.
I think you can trust him, Charlie. He seems to have an honest face.
Yes, he has. However, I'd have a hard time getting his face in the cash register.
Nevertheless, I see no reason why you two gentlemen can't get together on this. Why not put it on a strictly business basis? Maybe there's something you can give Mr. Miller as security.
What's that?
Oh, something you own that he can keep until the debt is paid.
Oh, well, it's a little cold to go barefooted.
No. I couldn't take your shoes, son. I've got a little boy of my own, and I know I'd... What size are they?
Oh, Charlie, cut it out.
Maybe you don't know me, Mr. Charlie, but I'll bet you know my father.
No, I don't think I do. Do you know the boy's father, Mr. Nelson?
Oh, I don't think so. What's your father's name, Sonny?
Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby. Well, the name's familiar.
Did you ever hear of the Paramount Pictures?
Oh, sure.
They work for him.
Bing Crosby, you know Mr. Miller. When the blue of the night meets the gold of the day.
Yeah, that's him. Golly, what's the matter with his voice?
Well, so your father's Bing Crosby.
Honest, and my mother's Mrs. Crosby.
Yeah, that follows.
I'll bet you don't know who this gentleman is.
You call him Mr. Nelson.
Oh, that's just because I know him so well. His real name is Admiral Nelson of the British Navy. Fought in the Battle of Trafalgar Square.
Oh, you shouldn't have told him, Charlie.
Where's your uniform?
Oh, I only wear my gold uniform on shipboard. You see, right now I'm on shore leave. Suppose I advance you the necessary 9 cents to complete this transaction, Mr. Crosby.
Golly, thank you, sir. I'll pay you back.
Oh, of course. In fact, while you're in town, I'd like very much to have you bring your father and come on out to the house for dinner tonight.
Oh, that Admiral Nelson's a real sport. He'll eat with anybody.
Thanks very much. I think my father would be glad to come out.
I'll give you the address on this card here, Mr. Crosby. It's 1847 Rogers Road.
You can't miss the house. Probably several gunboats anchored out in front.
What time shall we be there?
Oh, about 6 bells or 6:30 bells.
Gentlemen, my humble establishment has been honored by the presence of 2 such famous figures. I salute you both.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
They'll always be in England.
There'll always be a Crosby.
When the blue... When the blue... When... Harriet!
Is that you, Ozzie?
It's Bing Crosby.
What?
It's Bing Crosby.
Swallow whatever that is and come on out in the kitchen.
Oh, dear. Need any help with the dishes?
I could use a little.
Where are the boys?
You're out of luck. They're down at the playground. Grab a towel.
Serves the guy right for walking in the kitchen.
Oh, before I forget it, dear, I think you better have a little talk with Ricky.
Oh, what's he been up to now?
I saw his teacher at the PTA meeting today. Seems he's been telling some pretty big whoppers at school.
Oh, well, that's not so unusual at his age. You should have seen a little kid down at the drugstore. He's telling everybody his father's Bing Crosby. He's a cute little guy. I said, come on out to dinner tonight. Bring your father with you. But he stuck right to his story.
Well, maybe he was telling the truth, dear. Bing Crosby's supposed to be in town.
Now, how do you like that? A little boy makes up a story.
Well, I didn't get this from a little boy. Mother phoned a few minutes ago, and she said she was positive she saw Bing Crosby sitting in the lobby of the Harrison Hotel.
Oh, Harriet, how could she tell?
Well, for one thing, he was dressed like Bing Crosby.
Probably just some guy being initiated into a fraternity. Well, you know your mother's eyes aren't too good. It could have been a loud slipcover on one of the chairs.
Come in.
Oh, hello, Emmy Lou.
Oh, hello, Emmy. Come on in and sit down.
I can't sit down. I'm too excited. I'm so thrilled I've got cold chills running up my spine.
What was that?
They ran down again.
Take it easy, Emmy Lou.
Take it easy. Oh, Mr. Nelson, how can you say that? Evidently you haven't heard the news. He's here in town, the one, the only Bing Crosby. Not a movie, not a photograph, not a record, but for real. Himself in the... I blush when I say it. Flesh.
Well, there you are, dear.
I hate to disillusion you, Emmy Lou, but Bing Crosby is not in town. It's just a silly rumor that got started.
Oh, Mr. Nelson, I'm sure you're mistaken. I know he's in town. I feel it. I just love Bing Crosby. He's so...
I used to think Rudy Valley was...
Oh, now, wait. Harriet, stop dripping that wet dishcloth down my leg.
Well, I hate to rush off, but I simply have to spread the good news.
Emmy, won't you give us just one more little squeal before you go?
Oh, Mr. Nelson.
Ozzie, stop teasing her.
Oh, please, Emmy. Wait. Let me loosen my tie. Now look into my eyes. For you, my life, my love, my all, I surrender, dear. You know, it's absolutely fantastic the way a story travels. A little kid in a drugstore makes up a whopper.
Hey, Mom, Pop, Bing Crosby's in town.
He really is, Pop. It's that Hotel Harrison.
Well, here you go again, dear.
Look, boys, I hate to disillusion you, but I can assure you Bing Crosby is not in town.
Well, it seems to me the easiest way to find out would be to phone the hotel.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll phone the hotel. The risk of making myself look ridiculous, I'll prove just how silly this whole thing is.
Hotel Harrison.
Hello. I know this is going to sound peculiar. But I'm trying to convince my wife of something.
All right, put her on. Where shall I say you were last night?
No, nothing like that. Is Bing Crosby there?
Bing Crosby? No, he isn't.
Oh, he isn't? Oh, that's too bad.
He's gone for the day.
You mean he is staying there? He's in town?
Well, certainly, didn't you know?
Oh, yeah, of course. I knew he was at the hotel. I just wasn't sure he was in town.
Oh, yes. He and his little boy Lindsay checked in this morning. They left about 10 minutes ago.
About 10 minutes ago. Did he say where he was going?
Well, Mr. Crosby's such a funny man. He says such funny things. He said he was going out to have dinner with Admiral Nelson.
In the vine-covered halls of Nelson U at 1847 Rogers Road, Professor Oswald G. Nelson is delivering an account from the vast storehouse of his personal experiences. This one for the purpose of proving that under the proper conditions and given the proper subject, any human being will depart from the truth.
So naturally, Thorny, Harriet found it a little hard to believe that Bing was coming out to our house. Here, let me pour you some more coffee.
Oh, no more, please, Oz. I've had 12 cups. Every time I move, I slosh. Just tell me what happened.
Well, you know how women are. Harriet immediately began to get all excited.
Well, thank goodness I cleaned the house this morning, and there's a roast in the oven for dinner.
Settle down, Harriet. This is Bing Crosby that's coming out, not Clifton Webb or Adolph Monjou. We don't want the house all spick and span. He's a casual, easygoing guy. Dump some tobacco on the rug and get David's BB gun to hang on the wall. Say, I wonder if that old mounted swordfish is still up in the attic. I could put it right over the mantel.
No sign of him yet, Pop. Look, even watch outside. Look out, Pop. He's spilling tobacco on that chair.
I know it, David. Here, spread these magazines around the table sort of careless-like.
What's the idea, Pop?
I've just been explaining to your mother there's only one way to make Bing feel at home. That is to mess up the house.
I might add that I don't agree.
Harriet, that's the way Bing is.
Gee, Pop, I've seen him in lots of movies, but he doesn't look messy to me.
David, you can't tell anything from a movie.
He's really a mess, huh, Pop?
I wouldn't say he's a mess, Ricky. Not himself. He just looks a mess. Sloppy. You know what I mean. He's just a relaxed guy. Have you ever noticed he always walks sort of like he's sitting down?
Ridiculous.
Oh, and another thing. Now, this is very important, boys. Let's not bother him with a lot of questions about Hollywood and motion pictures and movie stars. No questions about Roy Rogers or Gregory Peck or Betty Grable or Jane Russell or Lana. Of course, if he wants to talk about him, that's different. Oh, and above all, don't ask him to sing. That's like inviting a doctor over and getting free medical advice. If he wants to sing, he'll sing, but let's not bother him.
Come on, David, let's go outside. Maybe he's coming.
What was that, dear?
I just put another rip in my sweatshirt. I'll make him feel more comfortable.
I wonder what he likes to eat. I'd like to have something special.
There you go again, Harry. Just throw a couple of old pieces of venison on the stove. Wonder where we could get some moose meat.
Do you think he'll mind eating on the dining room table, or should we just sit cross-legged around the incinerator? Oh, now who's at the door?
Yeah, I'll get it. Harriet, Bing Crosby.
Oh, I'm just awfully glad you could come, Mr. Crosby. Or should I call you Bing?
Oh, do. By all means. I'll call you Harriet. And I take it you're Admiral Nelson?
Oh, we were having a little joke with Lenny. He's a great little guy. By the way, where is he?
Oh, we met your two Pinkerton men down the road a piece there, and Lenny joined up with them. They got something going in the vacant lot. Oh, by the way, a funny thing happened to me on the way to your house.
Pardon me, Bing. You get that, Harriet? That smooth, professional way he slides into a gag. What happened, Bing? You see, Harriet, that's what you call a straight line. I kind of throw that out to him, and then he punches over the kicker. That's marvelous. What happened, Bing?
No, Oz. It wasn't a gag. A cute little Bobby Soxer walked up to me and said, Bing Crosby? I said yes, and she said,
Notice he gets a little horse whinny into the laugh.
Yeah, it was a filly, you know.
Oh. That was Emmy Lou, I guess. Let me take your overcoat, Bing.
Thanks. But I better warn you, afraid I'm not properly dressed.
Don't be silly, Bing. Feel at home here. Look at me. Don't feel shy about your clothes. Off with that overcoat. Let's have a look at that sloppy shirt and those baggy pants.
Well, that isn't exactly what I'm worried about, Oz. Look, I'm wearing a tuxedo.
Tuxedo? Mm-hmm. Well, Bing, I always...
It's quite a story. I'm sure you're familiar with Lake Tehachapuco.
Oh, Lake Tehachapuco. Well, sure. We go up there all the time. What about the lake?
I fell in this afternoon. I shot a 1,500-pound moose, and I was carrying it across my shoulders. You know, and I stepped on a slippery rock and fell in with all my clothes on. That's how come the tux.
A 1,500-pound moose? And you carried him?
Well, his back feet were dragging. Oh, Lenny, I thought you were out playing with the boys.
We came in to get a drink of water.
Oh, hello, Lenny.
Hello, Admiral.
This is Mrs. Nelson, Lenny.
How do you do, Your Majesty?
How are you fellas getting along?
Okay, Mom. Well, Pop, I just heard you telling about a big moose you bagged this afternoon.
Now go out and play, son. The older folks are talking.
Pop!
Out. Tally ho, boy. Go, boy.
Pop, I was with you all afternoon. I didn't see you shoot any moose.
Lenny...
The only thing you shot was an owl. The only reason you got him, because they can't see in the daytime.
Lenny, boy. Go out and play now. Here's a nickel, a nice shiny one. Your dad just got in a new shipment. Go ahead now.
Hurry up, Lenny.
Okay, last one's out. It's Bob Hope.
Sorry, folks. I guess the cat's out of the bag.
Oh, you mean about the moose? Oh, forget it, Bing.
No, I want to confess.
Oh, there's no need to confess. We didn't believe you anyway. I mean... What do you think of the story so far, Thorny?
Well, come on, Oz. Don't stop now. What happened next?
Relax, Thorny. When I tell a story, I like to take my time. Here, let me pour you another cup of coffee.
Oh, no, Oz, please.
Okay, no coffee, no story.
Okay, Oz, pour away. I wish I had an almanac. I'd like to know just how high my tide is. Come on, finish the story up.
Well, sir, after dinner, we moved into the living room, and the boys went out to play. It was very pleasant sitting there talking while Bing smoked his pipe.
Tell us something about your latest picture, Bing.
Don't make him talk shop, Harriet.
It's a little thing Paramount is making.
Bing, you're on a vacation. Why not forget about work? Let's talk about hunting. I understand the ducks are running.
Ozzie, if Bing wants to tell us about the picture he's making, let him tell
Well,
us.
he just told you, Harriet. It's a picture they're making at Paramount. What more is there to tell?
Well, it's called The Connecticut Yankee in King
Mom, can
Arthur's
we have a
Court.
chair?
You know, the...
Yes, dear. Take one out of the kitchen. What were you saying about the picture, Bing?
Harriet, would you please let him forget about his pictures? Have you done much hunting this season, Bing?
Oh, a little now and then. And speaking of hunting, they do quite a bit of it in England, you know. That's the locale of the picture. Has a wonderful cast, Sir Cedric Hardwicke and Bill Bendix. And...
When are you going to sing, Mr. Crosby?
Well, just...
Please, David. Now, that's not nice. After all, Harriet, what are you doing?
Oh, good. You going to play for us, Harriet?
I hope this isn't too forward of me, but could I coax you to sing just one little song?
Oh, no, Harriet. Oh, well, if it'll make you happy. How about Ding Dong Daddy from Dumas? I'll do a verse and two choruses. You remember, Harriet, I sing it in the key of G flat?
Oh, I'm sorry, dear. I meant Bing.
But, Harriet, he doesn't want to sing.
I do so.
You do not.
I do so.
Do not. So. Well, okay, you can sing, but no whistling.
Gee, thanks, Oz. Oh, Harriet, that's my favorite tune. Love it. East is east and the west is west and the wrong one I have chose. Let's go where you keep on wearing those frills and flowers and buttons and bows, rings and things and buttons and bows. A good left hand, Harriet. Don't bury me in this prairie, take me where the cement grows. Let's move down to some big town where they love a gal by the cut of her clothes, and you stand out in your buttons and bows. I love you in buckskin or skirts that you've homespun, but I love you longer, stronger, where your friends don't tote a gun. My bones denounce that buckboard bounce and the cactus hurts my toes. Let's vamoose where the gals keep using those silks and satins and linens that shows, and you're all mine in buttons and bows. Give me eastern trimming where the women are women in high silk hose and peekaboo clothes and French perfume that rocks the room, and you're all mine in buttons and bows.
Just wonderful, Bing.
That doesn't break the lease. You folks are in pretty solid.
Hey, what's that crowd out on the front lawn?
Mr. Nelson, sir?
Yes, Lenny?
Here's the 9 cents I owe you.
Well, thank you. That's very prompt payment.
Here's $1.25.
Well, what's this for?
Well, we figured it was only fair to give you 10% of the gate receipt.
Well, what's this?
That's what the chairs were for. We charge people 10 cents to hear Mr. Crosby sing.
Well, how did the people know he was here?
We had this sign on the front lawn. Look at it. Isn't it a beauty?
Listen to the golden voice of Bing Crosby at 8 p.m. Seats, 10 cents. Hey, you guys are pretty sharp. That's a very nice lettering on that sign, too. Did you do it, David?
No, sir.
Oh, you did it, Ricky?
No, sir.
Oh, you did it, Lenny?
No, sir.
Well, come on, son. I think it's time we better... Well, we've had a wonderful time, Ozzie and Harriet. Invite us again real soon, won't you?
Oh, you bet.
We've enjoyed every minute of it. Good night, Bing. Good night, Lenny.
Good night. Good night.
boys. Way past your bedtime. Let's go.
Okay, come on, Ricky.
You coming upstairs, dear?
I'll be up in a minute.
How did you like Bing? Isn't he a wonderful guy?
Oh, yeah, he's a swell guy.
Hurry up, boys.
Not a bad guy, I suppose. Shame he's such an awful ham. Oh, well, I guess that's the way those guys get. Let's see. I'm a ding-dong daddy from Dumas. You ought to see me do my stuff. So you see, Thorny, even Bing Crosby is capable of telling a tall story if you get him on the right subject. That moose story he told was worse than some of yours.
There's just one thing, Oz. When Bing came in, he called you folks Ozzie and Harriet. How did he know your first names?
Well, are you implying I made that story up as I went along?
I don't know, Oz. Did you?
Thorny, how can you say that?
How come he knew your name right off?
Well, he remembered it from the first time he was here.
First time?
Thorny, you mean to say I've never told you about the first time Bing came to the house? Oh, it's a very interesting story. Here, let me pour you some more coffee.
This has been a Seattle Miracle Incorporated production. We hope you will return next week for another episode of RadioTrivia.com. Good night.